Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Harika. So in today's video, I am going to show you this attended automation with UiPath apps, which gonna create real-time communication. So in the video that I've shown yesterday, which was released, so I have kept only the time. But if you see in this, I've also included the weather. So like this, you can do multiple things. And the different thing that I have done over here is I am getting the time from a XAML, from a different XAML, and weather from a different XAML. So that means I have used multiple XAMLs here as it triggers that provides me the information into my workflow. Okay. So if you see, the information also comes instantaneously as soon as I click on the button. Okay. So if you see here, the time in India is 1922, and that is as per, whatever is real time. And the weather is sunny. So this is not real time. It's not sunny over here at this time, but it's just a hard coded information. But what I really mean is it's coming without much delay in the process. And also, I mean, we are still running the process in the backend. That means we are hitting the process, a project where the process runs and provides you the information, but the processing time has been reduced to very much extent. So how this happens, how we can get this output in this way, and how we can make this communication real time, everything I'm going to discuss step by step in this video. And if you wanted to recreate and if you wanted to learn each and every bit of it, then this video is definitely for you. By end of this video, if you could able to do this parallelly with me, you can also able to create one app which is gonna be in attended mode, and which will help you to create an app which looks like a real-time communication. Okay, so without any ado, let's get into the video and see how we can do this step by step. There are a lot of things that we are going to see here, and you have to do each and every step to ensure that this happens in a right way. Okay, so yeah, firstly, what I am going to do is I'm going to create one app now. So let's go to apps. So usually what we do is we don't give so much of interest, or we don't put a lot of attention at building the app at the studio level, because that's something that everyone can do it. But here there are some of the prerequisites that we also have to make sure, and some of the differences that we have to do it at the studio level as well. So each and every bit of this video is really important to don't skip or don't forward any piece of the information, because it's important that we combine all the bits of it to ensure that we get the end result in the right way. So first thing, I'm going to create a new app. So I would say real-time communication app. Okay, so I'm creating one app with a blank page, and done. Okay, so I'm also going to tell you this will be the reference that I'm going to look at it, because this has all the information that I can refer to get this happen. So you can also check out this beautiful article where we can have all the information to create something that we really looking for. So just for our to make our app look good, I'm just gonna put one header, and I would say this is a just go to styling and then keep a background of some color, and let's increase the size of it to maybe 650 to 200. Okay, to 200. It looks so big. Let's keep it 60. Okay, fine. And then I'm gonna keep the header name as the world clock. Save. And then let's change the font a little bit. Keep to 65. Keep it center. Okay. Fine. So everything changed. Can I get back the changes? Yeah. Customized. Okay, fine. The margin, skip it center. So fine, this looks okay for me, just to have some kind of, you know, heading. I just kept it this way. And let's keep the font something different because it looks weird for me. Okay, this looks fine. Okay, so now let's go to the next part, the main part. Okay, so here, just like how I have my original app, right? So in the same way, we are going to create something of that sort. So for which I'm going to take a control that in which I'm going to enter the country name. Okay, so for that, I'm going to take a text box. Okay, and then the label of it is country. Done. Save. So I'm going to have the country value here, getting the country value here. So once after the country names that I'm going to input in, I'm going to hit the button that will search. Okay. It will search. Okay. It will search, and then we will just keep some search icon here. Something like this. Sorry. Okay, done. So we are going to give the country name and we are going to search. And after that, whatever the output that comes, right? So we wanted to put it in a text box. So for that, I'll take one more control, which is text box. Okay. So in one text box, I want the time. And in another text box, I want, so let's copy this. I just want weather information. Done. So that's it. This is my UI. Okay, I just wanted to keep it simple because the whole thing that we have it is I wanted to concentrate on the background, that is attended automation. So now let's keep this design simple. So the idea here is once after I click on the search, if you go to events, right? If you go to events, I have to create a rule. As this is an attended automation, it's gonna trigger my process. Okay, the whole idea here is based on the triggering. Okay, so if you see this article, let's go and see the capabilities of it. So I've already explained the capabilities of it in my previous video. So if you haven't watched that, I'll give you the link in the description. Go check it out. And if you also wanted to read this documentation, you can just check that out here. An app can start a process and communicate with the process any number of times by invoking various YAMLs. And if you also see here, we will be solving the performance issue of starting a new process every time. There is no need to communicate between the apps and the there is a need to communicate between apps and the attended robots. Okay, so we are not this processing time will be reduced, and we are going to have this communication with the help of the triggers. Okay, so that's why we have the trigger based attended automation. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set a trigger. That means I'm going to trigger the workflow. So which workflow do I have to trigger, what I have to do, and all of this stuff, I'm going to talk it in the here in this part. Okay. So if you want to create this workflow, it's also, I have kept it quite simple. Okay. So I will also talk about that workflow, and I'll show you what all the parts that you have to create in a workflow itself. So before to that, I'm going to close this. So fine. I'm going to show you what we will do at this part before we actually go to the studio part. Okay. So now it's pretty much this in this app studio. So once after this much is created, let's go to UiPath Studio, and here I'll tell you what we have to create. So the first and the foremost thing is triggers, right? So firstly, the first prerequisite that you should have here is UiPath dot. Okay, so UiPath dot workflow events dot activity. So you should have this package installed into your studio. Okay, so if you see what does this package do is the app's request trigger activity will not work on the lower versions. The interim process result activity allows you to send the results of an attended job to the apps or a custom app using robot.js before it has finished executing. The other activities enable real-time invoke workflow rule on apps. That means it will be used to have the communication established between your attended robot and also to your UiPath app. So that's what, to ensure that it happens, we have this activities. Okay, so let's go and see what are all these activities and how we can utilize them. Okay, so if you go to activities, workflow events, sorry, so let's see the triggers first. Okay, so if you see in the triggers, so in the workflow, we have multiple triggers, right? So we have the run local triggers, stop local triggers. So I'm going to talk about all of them now. And also we have apps request trigger and all of this. So these will be mainly we will be utilizing now. And fine. So firstly, if you have seen my UiPath Forms activities, I have already spoke about this run local trigger, how this actually works, and so much background about all of this. And also in this video, I will talk a little bit about it. I'll give a small gist about how this actually works. So basically, whenever we have this run local triggers, this will be checking for what are all the triggers that are coming into the processes. So it will be like a, maybe if whatever the event that happens, right? So it's gonna trigger that particular process. So that's basically this run local triggers is used for. Whatever the triggers that comes in, it will be monitoring all the events that happens in that particular user machine. So until the stop local trigger happens, right? So this process keeps on happening. So how do we know how this process happens and all? So there is a workflow or there's a template that I can say. So if you see apps communication, this is basically something that I've created from here. Let me show that also for you. Okay, so you have to create this in your machine. So if you see here, there's an app's internal triggers, right? So this is the same thing that I've created. So if you go over here, what is this is basically for is, so we are having a communication, right? From our apps to the automation. So to ensure that communication happens, how do we do that? So we have the local triggers. So if you install this package, you can have this. Okay, we have this local triggers and we are monitoring every single time. So until the connection is lost, we are checking trigger event arcs dot connection with app lost. Okay, if that is true, that means if the connection is lost, we are just ensuring that the connection is lost. Otherwise, then we are stopping the local triggers. So what I have mentioned in the main, we have run local triggers. That means this trigger will keep on checking what are all the events that are happening, right? Until when? Until this stop local trigger is there. So when do we have the stop local trigger? Only when the connection is lost, correct? So till that time, it's monitoring whatever is happening on that particular machine. So that is first thing. And then let's say if the connection is not lost, then what we are doing, we are handling the app request. Whatever the requests that are coming from the apps, we are handling them, right? So for that, what we are doing, we are triggering the event logs. So how do we trigger? We have to ensure, like, let's say whatever the XAMLs that we have in this process, we have to mark them as the entry point. So by default, the main will be marked as an entry point, but we also have to ensure we have to mark them, these XAMLs, as entry point. So if you ask me how do we do that, we just have to right click on the XAML and mark them as enable entry point. Okay, this is the next step. So here it's quite simple. We just have to understand the logic behind it so that we don't do things blindly. We just understand the concept that is happening in the background, and we ensure that we do each and every part of it to get the result, and to get the output result. Okay, so first thing is, this is a trigger based attended automation. So that's why we kept run local triggers, and this triggers keeps on monitoring. That means if you start the process once, until the stop local trigger is hit, this particular trigger is keep on checking what are all the events that are happening on that particular machine. Okay, so to ensure that is happening, we have a workflow here which will check the local triggers. If the connection is there, if the connection is established, then it will handle all the requests. If the connection is lost, then it will stop all the local triggers, that will end the bot. Okay, so that's how we are going to establish, we'll keep this connection established until all the until the connection is there, until the requests are coming from the apps. Okay, so this part is clear, right? So to handle the request from the bot to trigger that particular XAML, so we have to make sure that we enable this as an entry point. Okay, so whatever the XAMLs that you're using to pass the values between apps and the attended automation, we have to ensure that it is enabled as the entry point. You have to click this enable entry point. Clear? So that's pretty much that we are going to do in this process. And also one more prerequisite is, so we have to make them as an enable entry point. And the new rule is we have the trigger workflow, and that would be used in the App Studio to invoke the corresponding XAML in the running attended process. That means we have to make sure that we publish this as an attended automation. That means just go here in the project settings. We have to make sure that we run it as an attended automation. Okay, so we have to enable this as an attended automation. Okay, and also this is right now feasible only for attended automation. It's not enabled it to the unattended automation. So definitely you have to mark this as an attended automation. So fine. So this is clear, right? So you have to make sure that in the main workflow, you have the run local triggers, and in the apps communication, you should have this particular workflow created. Okay, that's the main important thing. And also in this, you have to ensure that this is an attended automation. So these are pretty much, and apart from that, everything is quite simple. It just aligns as per your process. So let's say if I have in my process, I have time in various countries. So what I have done, I just kept a small assign activity, and what I have done here, this is hard coded. Okay, so if you see here, if my country name is India, I'm just trying to take the time as it is. Otherwise, I'm giving New York in my apps. So that's why I just kept, I just reduced my time to 9 hours 30 minutes back. Okay, that's one thing where I'm retrieving the time. And if you see arguments, I'm taking this country from the app, so I have made it as an input argument, and I'm taking this as an output argument. Okay, I should not hard code this here, but I did it after deploying the app, so it didn't affect, but you should not hard code it. So here, whether in the different country, the same thing. Okay, if the country is India, then I mentioned sunny, otherwise I mentioned it cloudy. But yeah, you can just make it as per your feasibility. And this same thing, this is the input argument, this is the output argument. Clear? So as per you need, you can just make the arguments, because I'm taking the input argument based on the country, I'm giving the output argument weather, which I'm displaying in my apps. So this is quite simple, whatever I'm taking in over here. And that's pretty much from the studio part. So we have seen everything what I have done in the app studio and what we have done in the UiPath studio. So once after all these things are done, the one thing that you have to do is publish this thing in attended mode, So you can see the process over here in your orchestrator. Let me show the process over here. So I have made the process as my background process because I just don't wanted to see that process running just for UI purpose. Otherwise, you can keep it in the foreground process also. But anyways, I'm not getting anything running in the UI. You can just keep it in the background as well. That's not a problem. I mean, that doesn't hamper anything with respect to what's happening on this attended automation. And the other thing is the main thing. So two parts we have done: creating the app studio, the UI phase, and whatever is the prerequisites with respect to UiPath Studio. So whole thing is done. Once after you integrate, right? So you have to integrate your process. Okay. Whatever you have deployed there, you have to integrate your process over here. Just make sure that you have all your input, output, right? Done. I've got all my XAMLs and I'm integrating that process over here. Perfect. And now let's come to the main part. So as I have mentioned you, this search button, after I enter the country and I clicked on the search button, what should happen, right? It should trigger my process. Okay. It should trigger my workflow. So what should happen? Let me pull the workflow here. It should trigger my country's workflow. Okay. So what will happen here? Time in various country, right? So what will it will do? It will take the country name that I've entered here, right, in the text box. So what is the country name that I've entered there? It will be gone into in country. Okay. So this is my variable. So if you see here, it will be gone into input variable. So what will be gone? So if you see here, we can just directly take it from here. Main page, okay, dot text. That is the value that I've entered, and value. Okay, that will be overridden by this. Okay, will be taken there, and it will trigger my workflow. And what should happen? The time should come over here. So let's create the rule that no need of rule over here. It's just the value that I wanted to display, right? So what is the default text? It will be coming from the processes, right? So processes dot app demo dot, what is the XAML that I'm taking from? Time in various countries XAML. So if you see here, there are two XAMLs. One is time in various countries, weather in country. So time in various countries, and from there I'm taking the output argument, which is str time. Clear? So time in various countries XAML dot str time dot toString. Perfect. Save. So now let's preview this, and we will see the output. That's it. It's quite simple, but you have to understand what's happening in the background so it doesn't look so difficult. Okay. So I'm giving India and click on search. Sorry, please connect with your contact with your admin. So there's no error. I don't know why it has, the process could not start because it could not be found. But I'm getting the output. Let's re-preview this. I think there's some latency. Let's see. Okay, so now once again, I will give India and click on search. So if you see here, what's happening in the background, I don't know why this error is coming up, but I'm still able to see the output. So if you see, there is some latency when you're running it for the first time. But if you see, when I'm giving it like the next time, it will be done very quickly because the connection is there. The process is running in the background. Okay, so the process is running in the background and it will be fetching me the output very quickly. Okay, so that's the reason why it will be very quick. But for the first time, it will take slowly. because it has to trigger the process, it has to run, and it has to get the output and everything. But the establishing of the connection will be still there as long as the connection is not lost. That means until you close this. Okay, and done. So I don't know why it's showing the process is not there. Okay, no problem. And then the next thing, let's go to the events edit rule, and not sure. Just a second. Main page dot text dot value. Okay. So just preview. Okay, now the error is not coming up. I don't know. We have we have tagged that particular process, but somehow it's not coming. Maybe it's a binding issue. No problem. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new trigger again. I'm going to add one more rule that to trigger the next process, okay, to trigger the next workflow. So for that, I'm going to weather in the country. I'm going to trigger that, okay. So I'm going to add up weather in the country, put up the country, and main page dot text dot value. Save. And then here I want the weather to come up. How? From the processes dot app demo dot weather in country dot output. What is the output? This one, to string. Save. Done. Preview. Done. So let's check the weather as well. Search. So why this message box is coming up is I was facing small issue earlier. I was just checking whether the value is coming out or not at least. So to check it, I just kept the message box. So that's why it's you could see that this is not updated until I handle the message box. But this is just a testing thing that I've done. So otherwise it's it was working good and fine. So just click on it. You can see that the time got updated instantly, but this is not updated until I handle the message box. Okay, so that's fine. But the whole thing is this, that you can use this one for triggering the processes and to reduce the time that takes for establishing the connection every single time that you hit on search, and then it goes and establish the connection, trigger the process, and get the output and display it over here. So I think this is pretty much good. And there is lot of things that we can explore on it, and if I have come across any of the things, I tried to put it as simple and as easily understandable for you from my side. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put it up in the comment, and I try to resolve your question. And the reason why I have picked two triggers is because it's something that you can do it for multiple XAMLs, because it's not just that we have everything put in the same XAML and deploy the process, and not that possible to have triggering this multiple times. The whole idea of it is you can have multiple XAMLs, and multiple XAMLs you can enable as entry points, and you can trigger them whenever you need it, right? So that's the whole idea, and I try to come up with more use cases to make it more understandable and more easy for you. And also, if you have any questions around it, do let me know in the comments, and I'll try to solve them and make it simple for you. If you like the video, please give a big thumbs up, because I have took a lot of effort to come up with this, to keep this as understandable and as easy to consume for you. So if you have liked it, please give a thumbs up, and also please do let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video next time. Till then, stay tuned. Bye.